Hi everyone, welcome to the official YouTube channel of Law Prep Tutorial. I am Saket, your mentor, and आज के session में ना we are going to talk about a really important topic, which is why is it so important, या why missing out on editorial is a big no, and why you should never miss out on an editorial. So without much of an ado, let's start. I mean, see, जब हम editorials की बात करते हैं ना, so keeping with in reference CLAT as an exam, and also about your in general thought process in mind. So the very first thing is about having a perspective. Developing a perspective, or broadening your horizon of thought requires that we know think into different aspects, different avenues. अब जब हम editorials की बात करते हैं, so editorials are generally about those topics which are in current affairs, which are in news, and there are multiple aspects to it, multiple dimensions to it. अब as a normal human being with a certain psychology, हो सकता है that we may have restricted ourselves, or we may just be open to a particular line of thought. What editorials do is that people with diverse knowledge or diverse background, people from diverse background, come up with their insights or their point of view. So going for an editorial does a very important task, which is expanding your perspective. Second is to develop a critical thinking. And when I say critical thinking ना, तो एक बात समझो, at times people say something, but then when they say that ना, तो बहुत time ऐसा भी होता है कि there is an underlying assumption, or there is an underlying motive which is not being said directly. And this is something which comes into picture in English, in let's say logical reasoning, inference, assumption, right? So developing of that critical aspect, a critical thinking develop karna, is again one more point. Third is to obviously stay informed, because as I mentioned, हमारे जो editorials होते हैं, they come up on those topics which are currently in news. So it does one more thing, that it keeps you informed. It keeps you informed. For example, let's say आपने कोई topic कभी news में miss कर दिया, या general knowledge में miss कर दिया. So it does one thing, because you are making yourself exposed to different editorials. So it gives you an insight or an idea about the trending topics. And the last one, and the most important one, is summarizing it or making it crisp and concise. And why is it important? इसके multiple aspects हैं. मतलब if I talk about your journey as of now while in the CLAT preparation, as well as your journey post the CLAT preparation, like after you get into a good law school, I'll tell you how. When it comes to the current time period, अभी क्या होता है ना, अभी you are exposed to lot of passages, lot of mocks, n number of mocks in passages in, let's say, general knowledge, logical reasoning, English. सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम ये आती है कि we do not comprehend it easily, we do not summarize it well. So this is where editorials come into picture. Summarizing का एक और aspect can be when you enter a law school. see, देखो law school जा रहे हो, so there are numerous judgments that you will be coming across, you will be reading them, judgments as long as 700-800 or 1000 pages long. अब वहाँ पे, in order to understand the crux, in order to understand the gist, summarizing of the information is of vital importance, right? And now coming to the challenges. अगर हम problems की बात करें कि as a student, as an aspirant, what are the challenges that we face? हम पढ़ daily रहे हैं, but there is no strategy. I mean, we are just going on in one direction, but we do not know what we are doing or how things have to be done. Second is concept पता है, question के types पता है, question का concept पता है, पर score नहीं आ रहे. Third is retention. आज कुछ पढ़ लिया, but then not able to retain. This is one more problem. Again, confused, slow, out of time. मतलब the time management skill हमारी थोड़ी सी is not on the right track. These are the challenges that students or the aspirants face here. अब one very important question here is, हम newspaper तो पढ़ते हैं, हम editorials भी पढ़ रहे हैं, but what is the distinction between these two things? Newspaper पढ़ना is one aspect, and going for editorials is one. What is the thin line of difference there? See, if we are talking about newspaper, if you talk about newspaper ना, तो न्यूज़पेपर के केस में जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड कि न्यूज़पेपर जब हम पढ़ रहे होते हैं ना, सो हमारा फोकस बहुत ही सेंट्रलाइज हो जाता है टुवर्ड्स जीके एंड करंट अफेयर्स, राइट? अब this is definitely going to help you with GK. This is definitely going to help you with other dimensions, like क्योंकि हमारे general knowledge के passages can come in logical reasoning, it can come in English as well. So it is performing its function well and you are utilizing it pretty well. But जब हम editorial की बात करते हैं ना, so even though the editorials are based on these things and इसका exposure you already have from the newspaper, पर editorial के case में there are different functions, different avenues or aspects जो ये खोलता है हमारे लिए, and also because of its presence in the question paper or in the mocks as well. So यहाँ पे editorial, summarizing of the editorial, summarizing of the key idea, crux, gist, और आप या main idea बोल लो, एक beyond the realm, beyond the visible aspect सोचना and developing that critical thinking, this is where editorial becomes really important. Now, how to read? अभी वी वर डिस्कसिंग कि हम न्यूज़पेपर तो पढ़ते हैं, एडिटोरियल पढ़ रहे हैं, बट वी आर जस्ट गोइंग ऑन इन वन डायरेक्शन, मे बी वी हैव नो आइडिया व्हाट हैज़ टू बी द राइट अप्रोच, या एडिटोरियल भी पढ़ रहे हो तो एडिटोरियल का क्रक्स डिराइव करने के लिए व्हाट शुड बी द मेन एजेंडा और व्हाट शुड बी अ प्रैक्टिकल वे पॉसिबल. द फर्स्ट थिंग इज डेफिनेटली टू आइडेंटिफाई द सब्जेक्ट, एज इन किस टॉपिक पे या किस सब्जेक्ट पे द ऑथर हैज गिवन हिज इनसाइट. सो लोकेटिंग द सब्जेक्ट, लोकेटिंग द टॉपिक इज वन पॉइंट. सेकेंड इज की कॉन्टेक्स्ट समझो. अब एक पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक या आइडिया के डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट्स, डिफरेंट डायमेंशंस हो सकते हैं, एंड व्हाट डायमेंशन हैज द ऑथर चोजन टू राइट ऑन और टू गिव हिज ओपिनियन ऑन. ये हो गया हमारा कॉन्टेक्स्ट. नेक्स्ट इज टू अंडरस्टैंड और लोकेट द कंक्लूजन, एज इन की उस पर्टिकुलर एडिटोरियल का डेरिवेशन क्या है हमारे पास, व्हाट कैन वी बेसिकली लॉजिकली डिराइव फ्रॉम इट, या की टेक अवे क्या है हमारा. Next is to understand the tone, as in tone या writing style. This is about how has the author expressed. मतलब the author is definitely expressing something which is the what. What is he trying to say? That's one thing. How is he trying to express? वो जो भी express करना चाह रहा है, what was he trying to say is the main idea definitely. वो कैसे कहना चाह रहा है is the tone or the writing style. And the लास्ट वन इज ऑथर्स पर्पस, कि अगर ऑथर ने ये एडिटोरियल लिखा है ना, तो व्हाई डिड ही राइट दैट. ऑथर क्या सोच रहा था, क्या ऑथर को क्रिटिकल होना था, क्या ऑथर को किसी को मोटिवेट या एनकरेज करना था, वॉज ही बीइंग ऑप्टिमिस्टिक, होपफुल और हैप्पी अबाउट समथिंग. सो दीज आर द की पॉइंट्स कि एडिटोरियल को अगर अप्रोच करना है तो व्हाट शुड बी द राइट अप्रोच टू एन एडिटोरियल. अब towards the end of this session, this is the actual editorial from a recent Indian Express editorial. In this, we will be dealing with how to utilize an editorial, and from a given editorial piece, what extracts or what key points can be drawn, and after that, what do we need to extract and where do we need to come down to. ये एक छोटा सा exercise, छोटा सा editorial will use and see. अब this editorial basically, if you see behind, यहाँ पे the author was talking about Ranjini Srinivasan, who was a student in the United States, and she went for anti-Israel protest there. And in return, what happened is that she was basically self-deported. She was being asked to leave. अब यहाँ पे the main point or the main highlight here is about crackdown against migrants, that migrants are there, they are illegally living there. Now we have two pictures, हमारे पास दो different scenarios हैं. The first scenario is of them being forced into an aircraft. The second is of Ranjini Srinivasan, who was participating in anti-Israel protest, and in return she was deported. अब इस particular aspect को author ने ये point तो उठाया, ये aspect उठाया. He has given a certain viewpoint regarding this, and that viewpoint has to do about targeting of immigrants, कि हमने immigrants को target किया है. Ranjini Srinivasan is a classical example that we have here. अब what about that? Yeah, what is the consequence of that? The consequence is that it comes out as a threat to the principles of United States. एक foundation principle है United States का, which is based on freedom. There is a sense of autonomy, there is a sense of freedom that people have there, and that's precisely one reason that why so many students from India, China go there. अब अगर हम ऐसे किसी activity में we are indulging and we are being let's say deported back. So what primary question this raises, or what primary challenge this gives out, is to students from India and China, largest one in number. Okay, अब the autonomy of the institution and the freedom of the campus, this looks at stake because these students, they are being sent back, and autonomy and freedom, these were the reasons why the students went there in the first place. Ab, as a university, as an institution, what is required? What is required is that यहाँ पे ये जो यूनिवर्सल वैल्यूज हैं या जो ब्रॉडर सोसाइटी के कंसर्न्स है, दिस इज समथिंग विच इज being hampered, right? And what we require is that universities, they should speak out against it. जो societal values है, universal values हैं, autonomy, freedom, everything is under pressure, under attack, and universities should, or faculties of the universities, they should basically stand up against it. उनको, they should take a stand against it basically, right? अब ये जो हमारे पास माइग्रेंट्स हैं हु कम फ्रॉम इंडिया और हु कम फ्रॉम चाइना, ये इंपॉर्टेंट क्यों है? व्हाट इज द प्राइमरी सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ देयर प्रेजेंस? एंड दैट इज कि एक तो हमारे पास एक हाईली स्किल्ड प्रोफेशनल्स का पूल बन जाता है. वी हैव अ सेट ऑफ स्किल्ड प्रोफेशनल्स, प्लस देयर फीस आर आल्सो हायर. सो एज अ कंट्री दे हैव it as a source of high fees plus a pool of recruitable young professionals. Now, as a conclusive point, author क्या बताना चाह रहा है is that if US is going on this path where US is simply sending someone back for having a dissenting opinion or a different opinion, so what this harms is, it is going to harm US because this is kind of a closed economy or a closed society approach, and this is something that the US practically should not be doing. And one more point, that initially author ने start कैसे किया, that it is about a crackdown. क्रैकडाउन ऑन व्हाट? क्रैकडाउन ऑन इलीगल इमिग्रेशन. पर ये जो प्रोसेस चालू हुआ था एज अ क्रैकडाउन ऑन इलीगल इमिग्रेशन, what has it become, or what is it becoming like? It is slowly becoming like targeting anyone who disagrees with the regime. The regime is the ruling party in the United States, and whosoever is agreeing, uske saath there is something of this sort where people are being self-deported or are continuously under scrutiny or attack. That is happening. So this is something which we should not do. And as and when we are progressing with talking about trade deals, तो author का conclusion ये है कि हमारे पास कुछ लीगल प्रोटेक्शंस भी हमें देने चाहिए टू दीज स्किल्ड प्रोफेशनल्स हु आर देयर, बिकॉज ये जो विच हंट है या दिस हंटिंग और गोइंग बिहाइंड दोज पीपल हु आर डिसेंटिंग या दोज पीपल हु हैव अ डिफरेंस इन देयर ओपिनियन एज कंपेयर टू द यूएस गवर्नमेंट, उनके खिलाफ या उनके साथ उनके अटैकिंग देम और रनिंग बिहाइंड देम इज नॉट गोइंग टू हेल्प. अब अगर इन पॉइंट्स को इफ आई जस्ट कंक्लूड इन अ फ्यू बुलेट पॉइंट्स, तो द फर्स्ट थिंग दैट वी डिस्कस्ड वाज थ्रेट्स टू द एकेडमिक्स और the global influence. And what is the outcome here? कि एक academic freedom hamper हो रहा है, autonomy of the institutions hamper हो रही है. Then the cancel culture, the cancellation of visa, it was a culture in the US, and initially the Donald Trump regime was against it, but by doing this, by sending Ranjini Srinivasan back, they are contradicting their own stand. और इसकी वजह से US का जो एक image है as a leader in education, innovation or freedom, this is getting hampered. Next is economic fallout or the economic consequences of it. कि if you start doing this thing, if you start attacking students' freedom or the institution's autonomy, what will eventually happen is कि जो international students हैं from India or China who are ready pool of skilled professionals there, उनकी जो ऐसी policies हैं, this is going to be a deterrent. This is something which may hamper them, which may basically prevent them from maybe going there in the future. और इसके साथ साथ हमारी ग्लोबल कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस और इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ, दिस विल आल्सो कम इनटू पिक्चर. देन द रिस्पॉन्स एंड द कंक्लूजन. रिस्पॉन्स क्या है कि दे शुड रिमेन ओपन, दे शुड नॉट क्लोज देमसेल्व्स, रिमेन ओपन इन इनोवेशन, रिमेन ओपन व्हेन इट कम्स टू डिसेंटिंग ओपिनियंस. एंड द कंक्लूजन इज कि ये जो क्रैकडाउन है या ये जो अटैक है ऑन द इमिग्रेंट्स, दिस इज समथिंग विच इज गोइंग टू हार्म द यूएस मोर, बिकॉज ये एक यूएस के लिए इट इज अ सेंस ऑफ जेपर्डी और इट इज समथिंग विच इज गोइंग टू रिस्क द यूएस मोर एज कंपेयर टू स्टूडेंट्स देयर, राइट? क्यों? क्योंकि इकोनॉमी, एकेडमिक्स और ग्लोबल स्टैंडिंग या जो ग्लोबल रेप्यूटेशन है, दिस इज एट स्टेक, राइट? और अगर हम ऑथर के टोन की बात करें, अभी हमने डिस्कस किया दैट ऑथर हैज अ पर्पस. द पर्पस हियर वाज टू टॉक अबाउट क्रैक डाउन ऑन इलीगल इमिग्रेशन. द पर्पस वाज आल्सो टू हाईलाइट द फैक्ट कि व्हाई यूएस शुड नॉट डू दिस बिकॉज इट इज समथिंग जो यूएस को हार्म कर जाएगा. एंड द टोन हियर इज हैविंग अ मिक्स ऑफ criticism as well as caution. Caution as about why the US should not be doing this or going for this approach, and critical for highlighting the steps that the US has taken, right? And ideally, these are the main points. And if I talk about editorial, understanding of the editorial, this is the skimmed version wherein we have just included the important highlights or the important points which are of utmost importance or vital importance in understanding any passage. So ideally, a passage from this went to this much. This is exactly जो हमें we need to learn or या हमें जो सीखना है. That is, we need to basically cut down information to this short, whether it be here, whether it be the passages in mocks, your booklets, or whether it be the NLU or the law school journey that you're going for, right? And one more thing that I have for you here is this mind map. A mind map or a ready recollection of all the information that we went through in the passage, specifically about crackdown, then the problem, which is the immigrants or the crackdown on immigrants, the consequence of it, or the solution of it. This is precisely where we need to come down to, from an editorial to a skimmed version of it, जहाँ पे we only have the important points, important highlights, and वहाँ से to an even more skimmed down version, which is the mind map of it. And this is actually going to help you whether it comes to mock, whether it comes to understanding a different perspective or a narrative. And I really hope that you like this video. Just in case you found this really helpful, do let us know in the comment section below. Thank you.